We present Kenneth Williams, Derek Nimmo, Clement Freud and Geraldine Jones in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome once again to Just a Minute. Well, as you just heard, we have 4 experienced campaigners at this game of Just a Minute. So just let me remind you first of all, in case you may not have heard it before, of the rules of the game. I'm going to ask each of these competitors to speak for just a minute on some unlikely subject which they know nothing about, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviation, in other words, going off the subject. I think the rest of the game will become apparent as we go along, and let us start this week with Derek Nimmo. Derek, can you talk for just a minute on giving up smoking, starting now?
Last summer, on a beautiful day in the Mediterranean, I was sailing in a 3-masted schooner out about 45 miles off the coast of Mallorca. And there we anchored, and looking down to the sea, we saw bubbles coming to the surface. My old friend Smoking-v2, Smo to his chums, had dived to the bottom of the Mediterranean, and there...
Kenneth Williams.
Deviation has nothing to do with smoking.
His name, I'm just explaining his name.
Well, and you very rapidly
Yes,
justify.
because his name was Smoking-v2. We used to call him Smo King, you see. That was his nickname. And as he'd gone to the bottom of the water, we were giving him up because we thought he'd drowned.
Giving up smoking.
Giving up smoking.
Oh, very clever. It's very involved.
No words at all. I have no words. I'm completely flabbergasted.
Well, so are the audience as well. Anyway, Derek, you've managed with that cleverness to gain yourself an extra point, and with 34 seconds left for giving up smoking, you start now.
The best way, of course.
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Terrible hesitation.
Oh, really?
Now, I must be fair here. If you'd said hesitation, I would have agreed, but it wasn't a terrible hesitation. No, it's too late now, Clement. No, it wasn't a terrial hesitation.
You're repeating yourself now.
Yes,
I know
you
I
repeated yourself a lot.
But I don't lose points when I do it.
Right.
Derek Nimmo. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Derek Nimmo couldn't come today. We have Derek Nimmo instead. Derek, you have another point and 33 seconds left for giving up smoking, starting now.
Get rid of the rubbishy stuff. This will do you no good. I look at his advertisement and I say, those are not for me.
Kenneth Williams.
Hesitation.
No, there's no hesitation. You're very funny when you say it.
If I may say, Mr. Williams, I have a natural impediment, and it's unfortunate that you make fun of it.
Fancy
All I can say, Derek, is...
all that rubbish.
Derek, do watch your natural impediment in case it goes against you the next time. This time I'm with you with another point and 24 seconds left for giving up smoking, starting now.
I had a fire in my flat 2 weeks ago. This has made me give up...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Hesitation that time, undoubtedly, yes. Giving up smoking, Clement, with 20 seconds left, starting now.
Giving up smoking is an absurdly easy thing to do because people do it over and over again.
Derek Williams. Derek Nimmo.
Derek Williams.
Repetition.
I must point out that Derek Williams couldn't come to the show either today. Derek Nimmo.
Thank you. Repetition, over and over again.
That is absolutely
very
correct. Yes, it's a very obvious type of repetition.
Oh,
so you have 14 seconds left.
Well, that's really...
Over and over again sounds to me extremely repetitious, and I'm entirely with Derek Nimmo.
I think you should ask the audience. That's what you should do.
All right, I will ask the audience if that's how you feel.
Yes, go on, ask them.
I am not afraid, and the audience here will be the...
He's gone white. Look at him.
Well, you've gone red, Kenneth.
No, I'm naturally ebullient. I'm always ebullient.
Well, keep your ebullience down for a moment, please. Well, I put it to the audience without fear. I will ask you to be the final judges and arbiters. Do you think that Derek Nimmo's challenge was justified? And if you do, will you please cheer over and over again? And if you don't think it was justified, will you please boo? And will you all do it together now? Kenneth Williams, you will be the judge. Which do you want? The cheers?
The boos most definitely have it. Oh, yes, don't they?
Kenneth Williams.
Oh, tell him Milo.
You're on that side of the room with Clement Freud. You have helped Clement to get a point. I hope he remembers it when you're in difficulties, because Clement has a point and he has 14 seconds left for giving up smoking starting now.
It's not...
Derek Nimmo, you challenged.
Hesitation.
You have your point, Derek, with 13 seconds left for giving up smoking starting now.
Kenneth Williams is one of those people that when they're hot, steaming and smoking, one should certainly give up. I've always said this to my friends. If you
Clement
see
Freud,
this fellow...
I've always said it's repetition within the meaning of the act.
Well, it wasn't a moment ago.
If you always said it, then it must be repetition.
All I can say is the audience decided that over and over again was not repetition, which to me is more repetition than I've always said. So I think I must be fair here. Derek Nimmo has still got it, and he has 5 seconds left with another point for giving up smoking starting now.
Drink a bottle of...
Clement Freud, you challenge why?
Hesitation.
I don't think so, no. 4.5 seconds left for Derek Nimmo starting now.
I wanted to go to see a woman, and there she was on a high hill.
Deviation.
Why?
Nothing to do with giving up smoking.
Going to
Seeing
see a
women.
woman? I think seeing a woman is a jolly good way to give up smoking. Derek Nimmo is rushing into the lead with another point, and he has 2 seconds left for giving up smoking starting now.
Rotten Row is full of fag ends, that's why.
The non-smoking kick has given Derek Nimmo a commanding lead of 9 points over Clement Freud, who has 3. Kenneth Williams... all right, Mr. Nimmo, please, just continue. And Kenneth Williams has 1. Geraldine has yet to score, but it's only the end of the first round, so, Clement, let us carry on with you to start this time. Hackneyed phrases. Would you please try and talk for just a minute on this, starting now?
A hackneyed phrase is the sort of...
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Yes, it does seem a pity, but he hardly got going.
No,
but,
what a shame.
Alas, it is true. Hesitation, you
He's
have
a bit
point.
shaken, I think, actually. A bit shaken, yes.
All right, 6 seconds for hackneyed phrases, Derek, starting now.
Whoa, gee up. Come on, there. Meh. These are the phrases
Clement Freud, why do you chat?
Yeah, is not a phrase.
It is, if I may say, may I justify
Yes,
it?
all right, if you can, yes.
If you're in a hackney cab, a horse-drawn hackney cab, it's a very hackneyed phrase.
It's not a phrase.
I think...
Goodness, the audience is with you, isn't it?
The audience may be with you, Derek, but I think a hackneyed phrase does mean a phrase that is intelligible to an audience. So, Clement, you have the point and the subject. You have 52 seconds left for hackneyed phrases starting now.
Do you come here often?
Geraldine Jones, you wish to reply?
Hesitation.
Hesitation is correct, yes. Hackneyed phrases, Geraldine Jones, starting now.
A long time ago, when Clement Freud was a young man, "Do you come here often?" was a hackneyed phrase. Nowadays, however, the fashion has changed, and hackneyed phrases tend to be much more obscure and multisyllabic. Things like counterproductive and participation of the people, democratization of factories, all these are...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, I think she was giggling, actually.
Very lovely giggling.
Lovely stuff, lovely.
Lovely stuff. Shall we let her
really
continue?
very gallant,
Shall we
is
see
it?
if she continue with her lovely stuff? All right, yes. The audience want to see, Geraldine, if you can continue with another point with the lovely stuff. Hackneyed phrases starting now.
The audience is proving that it is really again me, but I shall try and continue. Hackneyed phrases are often those phrases which come most readily to mind in moments of extremity, like the moment that I am experiencing now. Phrases like...
Derek Nimmo.
I'm afraid I hated this, but phrases, there have been too many, actually. I'm so sorry, it's repetition, and I do beg Miss Jones.
Are you saying there were repetition of hackneyed phrases? Or
No,
repetition-
just phrases, just the word
Just
phrases.
phrases.
Not a gentleman, I think.
No, you could have had her for hesitation. I'm not going to let you have that one, Derek. No, Geraldine is 1 woman against 3 men,
One
so she
woman,
has
that's
another
all
point.
she is, against 3.
Well, Kenneth Williams is on your side, Geraldine, as well as the audience, I think. So you have 14 seconds left for hackneyed phrases, starting now.
There is a type of romantic novel which is particularly rich in the sort of disease that we're discussing at the moment. Falling in love, eclipsing...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation.
No.
It's start raving mad.
You want to give it all to Geraldine Jones, do
It was
you?
fluent, wasn't it? Beautifully fluent.
It was very fluent, but there was a slight hesitation there. So Clement Freud has another point, and he has 7 seconds left for hackneyed... when you win a point, do you want to give that one to Geraldine Jones as well, Kenneth?
No, I might feel like it later.
All right. Clement Freud, 7 seconds for hackneyed phrases starting now.
On a clear day, you can see the seaside is one of the most hackneyed phrases that landladies in boarding houses along our coast...
In case people haven't spotted it already, whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. Clement, you have taken second place behind Derek Nimmo, who still has a very definite lead. Geraldine Jones in third place, and Kenneth Williams has 1 single point at present. Kenneth, would you discourse, if you can, for just a minute on the pop scene starting now?
There are various descriptions of the pop scene. It can, of course, refer to the time when the curtain goes up on these rows and rows of ginger pop bottles, and that's made of this sort of mineral water, sparkling, impregnated with ginger, and used by the comics, and they pretend to get drunk. It must be mixed up with kumis, which is, of course, fermented mare's milk and frequently drunk in Outer Mongolia, and lovers drink it with their arms intertwined and sing the traditional air, "There's an old scene by the mill, Nellie Dean." It's all wrong, of course. There's no old mill there anymore, because it's all nowadays done by electricity. But
Derek Nimmo, why you challenge?
Well, deviation. We're onto electricity and old mares and very little of the pop scene.
Well, I thought, according to the way Kenneth started, that he was onto this curious type of pop drink.
Yeah.
And I felt I was still in a sort of poppy drink. Is that right?
there was the pop scene, the pantomime I was talking about. As there are there's various kinds.
Oh, you're on the pantomime? Oh, then it's definitely deviation. We've got off it now, yes.
Yes, but I was going on to the other one in a minute.
I don't think...
I should have it, yes, I'm still on it. Yes, not on the mare's milk, I think you're...
Yes. I think out of your own mouth you have committed yourself to complete deviation. We don't know where the dickens you are, do you?
No, well...
No, there you are.
I give up gracefully.
All right.
I give up very gracefully.
Well, I didn't know you brought grace with you, but you can give... Anyway, Derek Nimmo, you have the subject, an extra point, of course, and you have 28 seconds for the pop scene starting now.
There are many kinds of pop: sarsaparilla, dandelion and burdock, ginger fizz, ginger pop, lemonade.
Geraldine Jones, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Hesitation is correct. The pop scene is with you now, Geraldine, with 23 seconds left, starting now.
The pop scene is such a hackneyed phrase that I'm reluctant to talk about it altogether. I suppose...
Clement Freud.
Deviation.
Oh, dear.
Why?
She's not going to talk about it.
I said I was... I said I was reluctant. I was going to force myself.
No, however you justify, Geraldine, I think that challenge deserves a point and the subject. Clement, you have it. You have 15 and a half seconds for the pop scene starting now.
We seem to have established in the last round that if you giggle, it can't be counted as hesitation. I'm therefore going to giggle for the next 14 seconds.
We enjoyed the giggle, Clement, but during your giggle you were challenged. Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Well, on 2 scores, there was a repetitious giggle.
Yes.
And deviation.
Why? Why was the deviation?
Well, he was talking about giggling instead
That
of the
is
pop
the pop
scene.
scene. It's a very happy scene.
Yeah, but that doesn't justify. I can't give you 2 points, I'm afraid, Derek, but you have 1 point, and you have 10 seconds for the pop scene starting now.
Down we go, twanging our guitars in dark, dank cellars with our long hair swishing round our...
Kenneth Williams, why do you
It's
challenge?
nothing to do with a pop scene.
It sounds extremely explicit of the pop scene as I've seen it on
He's
occasion.
mixing it all up with mods and rockers. That's not the pop scene.
Well, we obviously have some mods and rockers in the audience. I think it describes a certain pop scene that I have seen, if you'll forgive the pun. So, Derek Nimmo, you have another point. The audience obviously haven't forgiven the pun. So you have 5 seconds for the pop scene starting now.
Half a pound of tuppenny rice, half a pound of treacle. That's the way the weasel goes. Pop goes the weasel.
Geraldine, why I believe in fairies is the subject, and would you talk, if you can, for just a minute, starting now?
I believe that a Frenchman once wrote that if there were no fairies, we would have to invent them, and this essentially is why I believe in them. If it were not for my belief, how would I know that when a little girl loses a milk tooth and puts it in a saucer of salt overnight, it wouldn't be replaced in the morning by a sixpence? The little winged creatures...
Clement Freud, why do you challenge?
Hesitation.
Hesitation, alas, is correct. You have 35 seconds for why I believe in fairies, Clement Freud, starting now.
I believe in fairies because I meet them so very frequently. Mostly in Hyde Park, but also in Green Park, St. James's Park, and many other greeneries around London, where they dance in little rings of an evening,
Derek Nimmo, why do you challenge?
Hesitation. He's sort of grinding to a halt.
Well, I definitely
I only
think...
stopped when you buzzed. I saw your finger on the...
You were grinding away a little
Well,
bit down, yes, definitely. Derek Nimmo, you have a point. You have 20 seconds for Why I Believe in Fairies starting now.
Down in Wiltshire I saw my first fairy. There he stood, with gossamer wings, a little silken shroud enveloping his legs, and 2 little green shoes. He was an unusual fairy. In fact, people have told me that they've never seen such a beautiful one as the one that I saw. It was a lovely...
Kenneth Williams, why do you challenge?
Deviation. How could they have talked about it if it was you the one that saw it?
I said that I described him.
Actually, you could have had him for deviation because the subject is Why I Believe in Fairies. He's talking about the fairy he saw. Clement. Kenneth, you have the subject with, of course, an extra point, and there are 2 seconds left for Why I Believe in Fairies starting now.
Well, I had to, because we were in this pantomime, Fairy Peter Pan, and...
Well, as Kenneth was speaking as the whistle went, he's gained another point, but he's still trailing a little behind Geraldine Jones, who is still a little behind Clement Freud, who is still behind Derek Nimmo, who's still in the lead. And, Derek, it is your turn to begin. What to do if you get stuck in the elevator? Some people might say the lift, but the elevator covers many countries. So, Derek, there's the subject. Have you thought about it? Would you please try and talk for just a minute starting now?
Well, it's tremendously dependent upon who you're stuck in the elevator with. I mean, if I was stuck in the elevator with Clement Freud, I should try and keep a dignified and distant silence. If I was stuck in the elevator with Kenneth Williams, I should be apprehensive. If I was stuck in the elevator with the lovely Miss Chilwell Jones on my side, I call her Chilwell Jones incidentally because that's where she hails from, then I perhaps would not be so silent and maybe would behave...
Clement Freud.
Hesitation,
yes. Yes. Clement, you have the subject for 35 seconds for what to do if you get stuck in the elevator starting now.
If you get stuck in an elevator, the best thing to do is to scream loudly and strongly until help comes. If you get stuck in a lift, which is sometimes also called an elevator, then there's nothing for it but to pick up the small telephone if provided, dial the numbers which are written on the telephone and say, "Excuse me, I am in the position in which you've asked me to do what I'm now doing, which is dialing. Please send someone at once to assist me and help me to get out of this predicament." And in the fullness of time, when this happens to...
Kenneth Williams, you challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, it was a pity because he was going so marvellously.
It's a shame, yeah.
Yes, it's pretty... Kenneth, you have another point. You challenge at just the right time because there's only 1.5 seconds left. For what to do if you get stuck in the elevator starting now.
You absolutely scream
Clement Freud,
it.
you challenge. Why?
Hesitation?
Hesitation, undoubtedly. Yes, Clement Freud, you have the subject back. Another point. What to do? What to do if you get stuck in the elevator for 1 second starting now.
Scream your head off.
No, you mustn't. I'm sorry. No, just a minute. Derek Nimmo, you challenge. Why?
Hesitation.
Undoubtedly hesitation. Derek, you have another point. You have 1 second left for what to do if you get stuck in the elevator starting now.
Help!
No! Geraldine, you challenged.
It's my turn to get a point for hesitation.
Yes, definitely. Geraldine's got another point for hesitation. You have half a second left for what to do if you get stuck in the elevator starting now.
Wait, very...
So everybody got a point on that last little bit, except Kenneth Williams, who looked most shocked of all. So I was had you in mind, actually, Kenneth, to try and put you a little bit further forward with this
That's
sort of
nice.
little gimmick. But you lost the opportunity there. You were far too generous.
Yes.
So you're still trailing behind Geraldine Jones, who's behind Clement Freud, who's behind Derek Nimmo. In that order, we carry on to the next round. Kenneth, it's your turn to begin. You might yet catch up, if you're keen. Interstellar space. That is the subject. I'll give you a second to think about it. And will you start now, please?
Interstellar space can be, of course, that region where you get the planets and your constellations, and it can be the space reserved for interring stellar. This has been referred to actually in your drama, because Shakespeare himself says, "Lend me your ears, I come to bury Stella, not to pray." What?
Clement Freud.
What?
Clement Freud, you challenged what?
Hesitation.
Yes, I'm afraid so, yes. Also very devious. He didn't come to bury Stella, did he?
Well, you know what I mean. I was illustrating the point with that. Of course,
Oh,
I'm no fool, Ducky.
You will be unless you keep your hand on your buzzer. You won't get any points. All right, Clement Freud, you have the subject, you have another point, and you have 43 seconds left for interstellar space, starting now.
The entire atmosphere over the cornfields and under the stars could reasonably be referred to as interstellar space, because space has no actual limit. Space is an oxygen-filled pocket of air which hovers over the earth and under the sky.
Kenneth Williams, why...
Inaccurate, it's true. Deviation, you see. Because there isn't oxygen in certain places, that's why you have to be in a capsule.
Would you like to say all that again a bit slower so we understand?
He said all of space, he said, had oxygen in it.
Yes.
Filled with oxygen. Well, it's not. That's why you have to have these go up in these cubes. Where you take your own oxygen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it to you. I don't know whether there's oxygen anywhere in space. Will you please be the judges? Because you probably know more than any of us here about space and oxygen. If you think that Kenneth Williams' challenge was justified, will you please cheer? If you think it was unjustified, will you boo? Will you please all do it now?
Hooray!
You let forth your oxygen in great aplomb. So, Kenneth Williams, you have a point, and you have the subject with 35 seconds for interstellar space starting now.
Yes, well, this
You
space...
shouldn't have done it, you see. Clement Freud's got it back again. Why? Hesitation, you see.
I hadn't started.
I know you hadn't. And not only hadn't you started, it looked as if you couldn't start. So, Clement, you have another point. You have interstellar space starting... 29 seconds starting now.
Interstellar space.
Derek Nimmo.
Hesitation.
Hesitation for interstellar space, 27 seconds left, starting now.
I remember the first time I met stellar space. What a dear girl she was. With her lovely blonde hair trailing down her back. We went off for a picnic, I remember, on the sandhills just outside New Brighton. And there I saw her lying in her bikini.
Kenneth Williams.
Deviation. There are no sandhills outside New Brighton.
I'm sure we'll get lots of letters from New Brighton, but as Kenneth Williams...
I went there. It was dreadful done.
We're going to get even more letters from New Brighton. Before we get the whole of New Brighton marching down to Broadcasting House.
They are the most lovely sandhills, too.
Kenneth Williams, will you carry on with interstellar space for the last 8 seconds, starting now?
It's this space reserved for her, and at the obsequies they have stellarites who mum in 5s and 6s and 7s sometimes.
In spite of the remarks about New Brighton, Kenneth Williams, with his interstellar space, has jumped into second place, 1 point ahead of Geraldine Jones. But they're both trailing quite considerably behind Derek Nimmo and Clement Freud, who are still neck and neck, exactly equal. Geraldine, it's your turn to begin. Why I've given up stockings in preference for tights? And will you please talk for just a minute, starting now?
I'm not going to give any of those reasons which might be rather improper and embarrassing to the audience on the grounds of chastity for giving up stockings in preference for tights. Instead, I would explain simply that I have a very small foot and a very short leg, and most stockings don't therefore fit me. Because, you see, when I get the stocking on and pull it to the top, because my leg gets fatter and fatter towards the top, the stocking won't reach. On the other hand, they make tights which, when you put them on, stretch much more effectively than any stockings ever stretch, and they go right up to a nice, comfortable position. And this basically is my reason. I also have to confess that I'm extremely influenced by advertising, and I find it very difficult to resist all those glorious women who imply that if only you wear tights instead of stockings, you will not only look nice about the legs, but you'll look nice everywhere as well. This...
Oh, Derek Nimmo, she almost did it, but you challenged. Why?
Well, hesitation.
No, definitely not.
All right, then.
No. She went for 50 seconds, and why I've given up stockings in preference for tights for the last 5 seconds, Geraldine, starting now.
Also, I am a certain... It's rather...
Oh, you're browbeating her, Derek.
I'm not touching her. I've got my hand on the table.
As Geraldine is the only person to have spoken for such a considerable length of time without anybody challenging her, I'm going to give her a bonus point for that. She nearly did 60 seconds, she only did 50, but she has 1 bonus point. She became flummoxed at the end by being challenged because she was in full flood, and there are 3 seconds left for Derek Nimmo to talk about. Why I've given... You brought this on yourself, Derek. Why I've given up stockings in preference for tights, starting now.
Well, I really couldn't stand those beastly nylons, you know. Particularly nasty, I found.
So, with that last little flourish from Derek Nimmo, it's time for us, alas, to finish. With Kenneth Williams and Geraldine Jones almost equal in third place, a long way behind Clement Freud, who is only 2 points behind this week's winner, Derek Nimmo.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hash.